The YNW Melly trial is now on a 1-week break. While the break, the prosecutors are trying to find more witnesses to testify against Melly, including even getting YNW Bortlen's trial in order. So here's what you need to know. The feds are trying to get someone to turn on YNW Melly. Bryson would go to report, Fredo Bang drops new music video today in support of his friend YNW Melly called Free Melly. In the song, Fredo Bang speaks on the 3-year-long attempt to subpoena him to testify by the prosecutor, saying the line, "Talking about subpoena, tell that lady I ain't get it." The lady he's referring to is the main prosecutor. She's allegedly been trying to sit Fredo Bang down for a deposition for 3 years. He has never responded once. It's also the same lady who mentioned this about Fredo Bang earlier on in the trial.
And Chris Thomas are. So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Devins is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and he asked to be picked up. Frederick Givens then, about 11 minutes later, is sent another drop pin where Mr. Devins has moved a couple of meters. What you're going to find out as well, though, is these digital leashes, they have more than just phone calls.
However, while trying to get Fredo, YNW Bortlen would enter the courtroom.
Bortlen Henry?
Yes, sir, he's present.
That you want to back this
Status conference.
Come on up.
And I guess you're already trial co-defendant right now. We're set for October 3rd for trial.
You had a motion pending as well?
Yes, Judge. As the court, when we were here the last time, you let him go to church and stuff, you said about working, you would be subject to seeing the schedule. We filed a schedule for the next couple of months.
I saw that.
Be able to work. And I talked to his probation supervisor. She has no problem with him at all. She said that if he's going to go to work, she'd like anybody has to do, provide an itinerary, where he's going to be, how he's going to get there, how it's going to get done.
As it would be announced, YNW Bortlen, YNW Melly's co-defendants' trial for this case will begin October 2nd. As during his small court hearing, the trial date was set, but we also received answers to a few questions that we have all been waiting to hear about. This could relate to the feds knowing that YNW Melly has been the guilty one all along, which the first question was, why did YNW Bortlen receive a bond out of jail for the last few years, but not YNW Melly?
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
Revealing that the feds believed YNW Melly was the guilty one ever since the beginning. Mix that with YNW Bortlen not having a legal history, that's why he would receive bond. However, the next question is where it gets very interesting, where online lawyers are believing YNW Bortlen will take a plea deal and maybe even snitch on YNW Melly.
Is it too late for Cortland to plea?
It's like the Justin Bieber song, it's never too late to say sorry, I think. No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. I've had individuals been offered pleas but turned them down in the middle of trial. I've had people offered pleas before a verdict came back. So it just depends on the case, depends on the prosecutor, depends on the actual charges. So no, it's never too late for that. He could take a plea in the middle of his case. I don't think that would happen. If he was going to take a plea, if there was going to be a deal, it would be in the middle of Melly's case.
Many online lawyers believe YNW Bortlen will take a plea deal in this case due to how YNW Melly's lawyers are treating this case for him, as it almost seems as if Melly's lawyer's objective is to not only make Melly look innocent, but also to make it seem like YNW Bortlen may have done this. It all started with the report of forensic expert in the YNW Melly case explains how he determined it was not a drive-by
assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by, and it's based upon this picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done. One is done at a stationary position. The at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in. The one round that has some movement in it, which is round site L here, the actually moving in that to create the little bit of a that you see there.
Okay, a lot of information in that, Andrew, so let's break it down a little bit. You mentioned so I'm going to zoom in on site F.
The forensic expert that is on the stand is a 20-year veteran in his field. After hearing what he shared, it makes sense why the prosecution left him to be one of their last witnesses, as the next piece of evidence he shared is very concerning, where the report states, YNW Melly is accused to be the one using the firearm in this situation. Sergeant Williams, who said there was an item used 3 times inside of the Jeep, including 17 times outside of the Jeep.
Number, you said 17 outside the car. How many rounds were inside of the car?
3.
And can you exclude the for Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas as coming from outside of the car?
Yes. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that Christopher Thomas, where did that emanate from?
Driver's side back seat.
No. Is it possible for there to have been 2 inside that car?
No.
Why not?
There is no time.
The rap lawyer would then even further explain what this evidence truly means.
See what the experts are doing for the prosecution, and what's interesting to me is what the defense is doing when they cross-examine these experts, which is they're essentially highlighting the prosecution's opinion. Rather than try to pick apart holes and say, what about this, what about that? They're saying, oh, this is what you're saying, right? That's a fact? Okay, and they're knocking them down. And they're pinning them down. And they're saying, okay, I'm going to hold you to this. This is your opinion. You think you know for a fact that came after this person was bet. You think you know for a fact that these came from not a drive-by because of the trajectory, and I know bet. And so what you're going to see, what I assume, because what is the defense doing? Well, I assume they have experts who they believe are a lot more credible, who have testified a lot more times in cases, who have a lot more research and credibility based on their experience and history in the field. And those experts are going to come on and take the stand, and those experts are going to poke the holes and say, you can't possibly know when this in relation to that. You can't possibly know how. We'll see. But that's what seems like it's setting up for the defense's experts to come in and...
This would then lead into the situation that convinces lawyers that YNW Bortlen will most likely take a plea deal, as Sergeant Williams is making it very clear YNW Melly most likely did this crime, as this is the most convincing evidence we have seen this far. This would lead into YNW Melly's lawyers now having their turn to ask Sergeant Williams questions. The first question YNW Melly's lawyer makes is a clever way of snitching on YNW Bortlen.
And you are aware that the person that claimed it was a drug is Cortland Henry?
I believe so. I don't know who said that it was a drive-by. I was just asked to say if it was a drive-by.
Okay. And you're aware that when Cortland Henry made this statement that this gentleman was nowhere around, right?
I wasn't part of the initial investigation,
Okay.
so I don't know if That was included in Miramar's investigation with that.
Okay. But what you are saying is whoever claimed was lying.
Was incorrect.
YNW Melly's lawyer is once again making it very public to the jury. Bortlen is the one that lied. He lied to the feds and lied about what happened. This isn't even the first time Melly's lawyer has done this either. As another report would share, YNW Bortlen had powder residue on his hands and a change of clothing when he dropped off Sack Chaser and Juvie to the hospital. YNW Bortlen and YNW Melly were the only two men in the vehicle with them, including Melly's lawyer, making it public to the jury. Bortlen lied.
Demon's lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with two bodies, a car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
Melly's lawyer revealed once again YNW Bortlen is the one that lied to the feds when they were asking him what happened to Sack Chaser and Juvie on the night of their passings, even revealing the secret interview that YNW Bortlen had with the feds on that night.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about some shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there's got to be some evidence there. There's going to be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here when you guys open the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's going to be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's going to be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's going to be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information.
With many people not believing the fact that YNW Melly's lawyers would do this, the rap lawyer would even speak on it, confirming that is Melly's lawyer.
And we have an absolute shell being dropped by the defense, a mic drop moment, the lead attorney on Melly's defense team telling the jury that Cortland Henry lied to police when he showed up at Memorial Hospital that morning. He lied about what happened. He lied about not having a phone on him. That Cortland Henry, this is according to Melly's attorney, that Cortland Henry showed up at that hospital with a change of clothes on, and that Cortland Henry showed up at that hospital with powder residue on his hands.
This isn't even YNW Bortlen's trial yet his name is starting to look more guilty than ever, as his name would not be done getting brought up either. Later in the trial, we would hear more evidence of Bortlen having firearm residue on his hands. We would see a report of forensic scientists that covered the passings in the YNW Melly trial says co-defendant YNW Bortlen tested positive for firearm residue.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of shot residue and two component particles, and the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of shot residue and 1 2-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was shot residue present on the hands.
YNW Melly's lawyers are making it very clear to the jury Bortlen was also in the car. Bortlen was right there when it happened, and even hinting towards him possibly doing this. In the end, this definitely could result in Bortlen making a plea deal and revealing the truth. As with YNW Melly's lawyers making this look like Bortlen had a bigger role, the family of Sack Chaser and Juvie are now very upset with how the prosecution are handling this case, as they know information that nobody even knows until today, when a report was shared stating, "The Stranger Things jacket YNW Melly is wearing in this video, just hours after the crime, is the same one Juvie had on when they left the recording studio earlier on in that morning. YNW Bortlen is wearing the one Sack Chaser had on too. Crazy, isn't it?" Including a Facebook Live of somebody recording Melly and Bortlen just hours after the crime.
You see him? Melly still turned regardless of what happened this early morning. He's still out here being very positive. Turned still. Hey! No, still turned. Regardless of what happened, you already know.
That video was taken hours after the passings, and YNW Melly and Bortlen were reacting and feeling a way that many people are very surprised about. Why did YNW Melly look so happy? YNW Juvie's family saw this video when it happened. This is what gave YNW Juvie's father the first impression that Melly definitely had something to do with this crime, which is why we would see a report of the father of YNW Juvie explained why he believes YNW Melly is responsible for this crime.
From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible for my son on October 26th when I first heard the story, because his explanation when I finally talked to him and Cortland on a FaceTime, their response and how they was reacting, they showed no remorse. They didn't act like they was grieving, like they lost a best friend or nothing. They was, in my opinion, they was in the best spirits. They wasn't reacting to, they act like they didn't have take a loss at all. That's how I took it. And then when I was talking to them, I still had in the back of my mind that something's not right.
As YNW Juvie's father took his frustration to social medias after YNW Melly's reaction to a piece of evidence was shared in the courtroom. During the report of YNW Melly's reaction when a firearm expert tells the judge he didn't bring the item because he has no idea what item was used for this crime.
Why not?
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what firearm was used.
Okay. Do you have a...
YNW Juvie's father did not appreciate the smirky reaction by YNW Melly. However, in the latest day of trial, we would even see YNW Juvie's mother take the stand. Her job was to clarify which of the individuals was her son on the surveillance footage.
Can you state your name, your full legal name for the jury?
Leon Phillips.
Okay. And are you related to one of the victims in this case?
Yes, I am.
How so?
I'm his mother.
And who is that?
Christopher Thomas.
Positive 21915. Ms. Phillips, did you see who entered into the occupants who entered into that gray Jeep?
Mm-hmm.
And is that a yes?
Yes.
Do you recognize where your son entered that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Which seat, if you can identify for the jury?
He got in the back seat on the right-hand side.
Did you recognize the individual that got into the back seat on the left side, the rear driver's side?
Yes.
And who was that individual?
Jamel.
And Jamel, is that the defendant, Jamel Demons?
Yes, ma'am.
She also had to reveal which one of the individuals was YNW Melly and where he sat inside of the vehicle. As overall, the families of Sack Chaser and Juvie are just angry with how the prosecution is making YNW Melly look innocent. As with every prosecution witness that took the stand to make Melly look guilty, all ended up doing the opposite. An FBI agent would take the stand. This FBI agent specializes in cell phone data research. As the report states, YNW Melly's lawyer questions FBI agent that did analysis on Melly's phone at the time of the crime.
Based on the information, you can't really tell the court precisely which locations these phones are falling in, can you?
One of the limitations of cellular analysis is that you can only say a general area where the device would be at any time.
All right. So even with the general analysis, all of the stuff that we've gone through for about 4 or 5 hours, at the end of the day, you can never give an exact location.
True.
And could you tell if somebody was walking around a car with the phone? Would you be able to tell that?
No.
So it'd be your testimony that this phone, 9807, could be from here to here, correct?
Yes.
And what was the distance?
Moments later, we would then see a DNA specialist that also took the stand. His job was to go over DNA research on items that were found at the crime scene, including items that were found inside of the Jeep that they were driving in, where the report states, the DNA analyst confirms YNW Melly's DNA was not found on multiple items that were recovered at the crime scene.
So going to item number 22. The swab from the Gucci sandals. We're able to compare the profile from Mr. Devins as opposed to the profile developed from those sandals.
I did, and he was excluded.
The stain on the front of the t-shirt, item number 23. We're able to compare Mr. Devins' profile to that.
I did a comparison, and he was again excluded.
What about item number 24, the cutting of the stain of the rear of the t-shirt?
After comparisons were done, he was excluded.
Okay, then on item number 25, the swab of stain from the Air Jordans.
Again, an exclusion.
Going on to item number 26, the swab from the yellow jacket.
An exclusion as well.
And in terms of the item number 27 and 28, the swabs at the Gatorade bottles. What were the results on that?
Those were both exclusions.
This is a massive win for YNW Melly and his team, as the prosecution lady is the one that mentioned that YNW Melly was picked up by Fredo Bang after the crime was done. However, with Melly's DNA not showing up inside of the vehicle, all YNW Melly's lawyers now need to prove is that Fredo Bang picked up Melly before the crime happened. Even YNW Melly knows this is a massive win for himself, as this is how he reacted with his team after this information was shared.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Request the jury step down. Counsel remain. Call with the defendant and witness. Yes, counsel, I'm sorry. I just figured it was easier if we just let the jury go.
Understood.
Makes sense. Your Honor, may we have this discussion just in case there needs to be some supplementation testimony outside the presence of the court?
Sure.